They notice everything. Your mood, your silence, even the way your shoulders drop when you're tired. They comfort you, listen deeply, and seem to understand you better than anyone else ever has. But slowly, you start to feel off. Your confidence dips. Your choices shift. Your emotions, once yours, now orbit around theirs. These people don't scream, threaten, or control with fear. They control with empathy. They know exactly what to say, when to say it, and how to make you feel understood, right before they twist that understanding into power. They are not your enemies. They're not even your obvious manipulators. They're something more complex, more dangerous. They are dark empaths, people who use emotional intelligence not to connect, but to control. In today's episode of Hidden Red Flags, we expose how empathy can become a weapon, how to spot a dark empath before it's too late, and how to protect yourself from kindness that cuts deep. We often hear about narcissists, people who lack empathy entirely. But there's a rarer, more deceptive personality type, the one who has empathy, but uses it as leverage. A dark empath can read your emotions, mirror your energy, and anticipate your reactions. But unlike genuine empaths, they don't seek connection, they seek influence. They know your triggers because they listened. They know your fears because you told them. And one day, they'll use that knowledge, not to help you, but to steer you. They feel everything you feel, and still choose control. We like to believe empathy equals goodness, but empathy isn't morality, it's a tool, and like any tool, it depends on who's holding it. Psychologists studying the dark triad, narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy, found a surprising new type. People who score high in empathy and high in manipulation. They're charming, emotionally fluent, socially skilled, and self-serving. They feel your emotion just enough to understand it. They don't absorb your pain. They map it. They study it. They remember it. And eventually, they use it. Unlike overt narcissists, dark empaths dominate through connection, not intimidation. They smile when others would sneer. They comfort when others would criticize. They seem emotionally available until you realize every conversation somehow circles back to them. Empathy without conscience becomes a trap, and dark empaths use it with surgical precision. To understand them, you have to separate two kinds of empathy. Cognitive empathy, the ability to understand what someone feels, and affective empathy, the ability to feel it with them. Dark empaths excel at the first and lack the second. They can analyze emotion like data, but they don't absorb it. Imagine a chess player predicting every move you'll make, not because they care, but because they've memorized your patterns. That's cognitive empathy at work. They are not monsters. They're often leaders, influencers, even healers. They look balanced, articulate, emotionally intelligent, but underneath there's a quiet hunger for control. They'll mirror your tone. They'll match your sadness. They'll remember every detail of your trauma, so when conflict comes, they know exactly which wound to touch. And because they seem so kind, you'll question yourself before you ever question them. That's the genius of the dark empath. They hide in the light. Here's their playbook. Mirroring. Reflect your personality back at you so you think we're the same. Validation traps. over-validating your feelings until you depend on their approval. Strategic vulnerability, sharing personal stories early, not to bond, but to pull your guard down. Emotional leverage, using what you told them in confidence as subtle pressure later. And the kindness debt. Every helpful act becomes currency. You owe them even when you never agreed to. Their manipulation is gentle. It feels like affection. By the time you realize you're being steered, you've justified their behavior a dozen times. They don't explode like narcissists. They withdraw affection. Quiet punishment that leaves you desperate to win it back. Victims of dark empaths rarely describe anger. They describe confusion. They say things like, "I can't hate them, they were so kind," or "I don't even know what went wrong," because the manipulation wasn't chaotic, it was surgical. Each interaction sliced a little piece of self-trust away. Your body feels uneasy. Your mind can't explain why. That's emotional dissonance, and it erodes reality from the inside out. They don't just use your emotions, they make you ashamed of having them. Watch for the hidden red flags. They mirror too perfectly. They always play the good one. They comfort but never change. They collect your vulnerabilities like trophies. You leave every talk drained, not healed. And they love talking about empathy, loudly, often, publicly. The louder someone declares, "I'm kind," the more you should observe how they act when kindness costs them something. When comfort starts to feel like control, that's your sign. So how do you protect yourself? Start by believing your discomfort. Notice the aftermath. If every heart-to-heart leaves you anxious or guilty, that's not support, that's conditioning. Don't explain boundaries, enforce them. Dark empaths debate limits to test control. A firm no ends the game. Separate empathy from obligation. Being understood doesn't mean you owe understanding back. Reclaim your story. Write down what happens, what's said, how you feel. Seeing it in words restores objectivity. Find neutral mirrors, friends, therapists, mentors, people who reflect without agenda. And finally, forgive yourself. You weren't naive, you were empathetic. And empathy, unprotected, is a double-edged sword. Dark empaths succeed only when they convince you your empathy is weakness. It isn't. Unprotected empathy is. Empathy is one of humanity's greatest strengths. It builds trust, connection, understanding. But when it's used without conscience, it corrupts. Next time someone understands you too quickly, or their comfort feels strategic, pause. Look closer. True empathy heals. Dark empathy binds. If this episode helped you spot the hidden red flags behind empathy, share it with someone who might need it. Because the most dangerous manipulation often wears a smile. This is Hidden Red Flags, where we decode the tactics of control so you can protect your mind. Stay aware, stay sharp, and protect your empathy.